Good evening, YouTube. This is Kaylin String coming at you with my regular Sunday night dinner. I have gone back into my stash of US MREs to the 2022 pack case A that I got off of Amazon. I'm trying to bring up the live on my tablet. Doesn't want to let me do that yet. There we go. Now we got it going. I bring it up on my tablet so I can see the chat. It also lets me check any lag time between what is in front of me and what is coming up on my screen. Just having to make a few adjustments. So this was the previous packaging up until I think 2023 is when these bags with the peelable seals were replaced with the newer style packaging. This is menu 3, chicken, noodles, and vegetables and sauce. This is packed by Sapaco, so it most likely has the inner bag like Ameriqual did before the packaging got changed to what is current. Let's see if this peelable seal works. These have a tendency to fail on occasion, where you put your fingernail through the bag instead of opening up the seal. I'm gonna have to I just can't I just can't get this one to cooperate. So I may have to go with the blade. Yeah, but I was going to put my thumbnail through the bag, so I'm just going to there we go. I cut it through the back. Nope, actually all of these are loose. All of these items are loose in here, so there's no inner bag like I thought there might be. We have a hot beverage bag. And the accessory pack has Bill's Brew, so I will not need my backup plan. Got the spoon, which I do not use, but I save. Regular peanut butter. The drink pouch was put in upside down, so this is tropical punch flavor in the shaker bag. That will be for the drinking jar. Got the FRH, which I do not use. I figure I'm at home, I don't need to do it. but I do save them. Got Skittles, and they are all loose in their pouch. Got your standard crackers, and they were, yeah, you can see what happened to the crackers. They were not layered directly on top of each other, and the top got folded over, so yeah, they are definitely going to break when open. And here is the retort pouch that has the main, the chicken with noodles and veggies and sauce. And this is the heater sleeve that has all the nutritional stuff for the entree and the usual stuff they put on the back of these. And there's another retort pouch, applesauce with raspberry puree. This is actually very good. There are a couple more little items in here. The MRE bag will serve as my trash bag as well. Got apple jelly for the crackers and the powdered hot sauce. I have a few packets of this, and I didn't get a chance to do that video that I want to do, that comparison of these, but I will definitely get on that. I'm going to put aside the things I'm not going to use. These bags, sometimes they have a tendency to fail, but I use them to store small items in to keep them dry or to organize them. Oh, sorry about that. I'm going to put a few of these things off to the side just to get them out of the way. Inside the accessory packet, got the usual rear roll, got the creamer for the coffee, got the wet wipe, got both regular sugar and the Splenda, and then this sugar is Enjoy. It is a food service brand that is supplied by companies like Cisco or Aramark or any restaurant supply companies. And I have seen Enjoy products sold in Sam's Club, so that will go in there. I don't use artificial sweetener. Bill's Brew going in there. And the last two items in the accessory pack are the minuscule salt and peppermint gum. I'm not much of a gum chewer, but I do save it. The sweetener packets I save for anyone I may be with who may choose or need to use that. So what I'm going to do now is put that there. I'm going to mix the drink in my drinking jar instead of in the pouch, because it just works better for video purposes. Sometimes when they fill these, they seal the zip, sometimes not. It's better when they do seal it, that way you don't get any powder in the zipper. I stick the packet or the pouch into the top of my drinking jar, that way it controls any of the powder that might get loose and just want to go all over the place. This calls for 12 ounces of water. I go to about there. Sometimes this particular drink mix can be a bit weird. I mix these before I do anything else because these take a long time to dissolve. That's one of the downside of the American drink mixes that are not in the tiny stick packets that are sugar-free and intended for 20 ounce or 500 ml bottles. You would need 2 of those for a standard quart canteen, if not more. I'll give that another stir later. And first goes the Bill's Brew. Spicy Tuna Rolls is here. Tim Riley is here. There's a good look at the Bill's Brew. No tear notch in this one, so I'll create one. That is the creamer. That looks good. Smells good. I prefer the older sugar packets because they actually give you a good, a better amount of sugar than these do. But this will do. There's a sugar in there. So now that I got those in there, I'm going to take this into the kitchen, put this in the pot, and I'll come back with the kettle for the coffee. I got the kettle back into the kitchen. I'll put that back there. And I can open everything else up. This applesauce with the raspberry puree will make the applesauce very dark. It's in one of those pouches that it's designed to be just sucked out of, like the applesauce. Waffles is here. Thanks for dropping in. I can definitely smell that raspberry as this comes out. I'm going to do the old fold thing that some people like to do. Makes it easier to get nearly all of it out of there. Call that good. Here are the nutritional information bits for and the ingredients for the applesauce. 4.5 ounce. I think they cheated you on this by a half ounce. Should have given you a full 5 ounces, in my opinion. Got some of it. But I really like that applesauce. I'm just going to cut open the Skittles. At least make a tear notch. That only ripped off a corner, but that will actually work. Oops. This is the original mix. And this has a Best Buy date on there instead of a military date code. So it's best before October 2023. So they just got a lot of these packets in a huge commercial buy. The retail packets. But they look very good. And that would be a great morale booster for the soldier in the field who needs it. Now, because the crackers are going to be bent, I'm actually going to cut this open and empty it out into here. So I will not be using the peanut butter or the jelly. So I'm starting a tear notch over here. Probably no hiss. Because of the way that they were compressed, they just easily break apart. So I'm just going to help them along. They need to do something about these crackers and bring back the original form. Because that is what is holding these back. Especially when they get bent and compressed, especially, when they go through the vacuum sealing process inside of the ration bag. When those get, a lot of those get vacuum sealed, and that could crush the crackers or any of the other snacks like that. But this peanut butter and the apple jelly will get saved for another day. Now this stuff, I have not actually tasted this hot sauce powder yet. So I think this might be the time to try it out. And I have another little surprise off to the side. So I'm going to go get what is basically a chicken noodle stew. And I will pour that on top of these cracker bits. And we'll see what that looks like. I am back. I'm going to bring it back in this, which is part of my home cookware set that I've had since college. And have a paper towel to dry this off so it makes it easier to handle. And the tear notch goes alongside, so I shake it. I want to get the food down below the tear notch so that when I rip it, I don't have it going everywhere. Now that one doesn't seem to want to work, so I'll I'll try this other end. There we go. Egg noodles. That's kind of what these are. Grab my paper towel. I'm going to call that good enough. Actually, there's a little bit of a there's a bit of red bell pepper that kind of stuck, so I just went after it. I'm going to bring up just a piece of the chicken by itself. There's a little carrot in there, but there is a close-up of the chicken. It tastes like chicken pot pie filling. It's very soft. Grab one of these noodles. Very soft. DeCarlos Perry in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Prepper for the Ages is here. Thanks for dropping in. The crackers will give this a little bit of texture. But it's time to have a little fun with this. So this is the hot sauce powder. There's the back of the packet. Don't know how well anybody will be able to read that, but figure what the heck. Didn't quite rip all the way across. I'll fix that. It looks like the color of a chili powder. I'm actually just going to have a lick. It definitely does not taste like Tabasco. It looks like a mixed chili powder with other stuff put in. You also give it a little bit of more color. That definitely brings the heat. Now I'm getting a bit of the vinegar kick in there. But I got one more thing I'm going to do. That's right. I got some parm from my kitchen. Put a bit of cheese in here. It'll be a nice contrast to the hot sauce powder. In the post that I put up earlier today, I said, yeah, I might have a little fun with this. Yeah, I have a bunch of those little Tabasco bottles that I've been sitting on. So they're getting a bit of age to them. But I keep them in my fridge. Along with all of the other Ration hot sauces that I get. Oh yeah, I like that much better. The hot sauce with the Parmesan cheese. Yep. I think I did a good thing with this. I have a few of the Hot Diggity Dog sauces that came out of older British rations. And I have not yet opened any of those. But I don't have too many of those, maybe about 4 or 5. There's multi-magnum in the house. Thanks for dropping in. Now this hot sauce powder, it's got a slightly different taste than Tabasco, but it has that vinegar note in it. It's probably closer to some of the other hot sauces that you might find in rations. And this is 2022 pack menu 3. This came out of that case that I bought off of Amazon probably almost 2 years ago. I bought it after I got the 24-pack case B from Waffles. Yeah, I wanted a case A, and so I got one. Now I'm hoping to find some newer ones, like 2023s and some more 2024s. I would love to have a fresher case of the MCWs because there are menus in there that I have not tried. And if I were an alcohol drinker, I'm not sure I would like a hot sauce in my drink. And when we went out for my mom's birthday last year, she got a Bloody Mary and they put a little spice in it. I'm not sure what they put in it, but it has a little bit of spice in it. It could be black pepper. Maybe that's what they put in it. I just closed up the little scissors on my mini multi-tool that I keep here. Actually like this hot sauce powder. It's got a nice flavor. It's got a good kick to it. It's not overpowering. I'm going to use the fork end of my spork to give my drink another mix. Now that's dissolved enough. I'm going to go ahead and take a drink. This unfortunately does not have any of that funkiness. Sometimes this particular drink powder, the Tropical Punch, has a bit of an oily sheen on it. And it has some stuff that just doesn't want to dissolve. But like the other fruit punch, it will leave a red residue on the inside of my drinking jar. Yeah, I see those little tiny Fireball bottles just thrown to the ground all over the place by bus stops or in the park across the street from my apartment. Now the little tiny ones that are maybe equivalent of one shot or 1 ounce, I don't know. I just don't bother with them. That is just something that I have no interest in. I'd rather eat my spice than drink it. The other veggies in here are green and red bell pepper and the carrot. And they're all very soft. But I like the texture of the chicken. And it's not overly processed. There's a decent amount of it in there. Bill's Brew. It's a decent instant coffee. It's not one of my favorites, but it needs to be in every US MRE. I don't know what they're thinking behind cutting the coffee. Yeah, it may be more expensive, but it can still be done. And this is very, very good with the hot sauce powder and the parm that I put in here. And the crackers. A soldier in the field could easily crumble some of the crackers into the pouch if they had to eat it out of the pouch if they did not have a mess kit. This is raspberry applesauce. The raspberry flavor is enough to be equal with the apple. The scent of the raspberry is stronger than the apple. And I'm okay with that. I would definitely chill it if I could, because I like applesauce cold, but that's just me. I think this is my favorite applesauce, the one with the raspberry in it. If I were a soldier in the field and I got this, yeah, I would be happy. I figured tonight I would go with the classic. I don't know if this is in the current menu lineup. I should look that up. I have been looking at listings for the C-cars, but for the case, even for individual rations, right now they're pretty pricey when you can find them. But I think there's still only 3 menus. And I have seen other reviewers get into the C-cars. So I have seen all 3 menus. And they agree that they are a bit of a letdown compared to the first strike. They appear to be more compact than the first strike. At least from the videos that I have seen. Maybe slightly a fewer items than the first strike. But what I might do, I might just get some first strikes just to have them. And I have a couple of the MOREs, the modular operational ration enhancements. I have the older pack and the newer pack style of those. I think one is the hot weather, one is the cold weather. And I've also been communicating with someone about a ration buy for the end of the month. But this person does not have a Polish ration with a goulash as the main entree, but he's got some other ones that have piqued my interest that he would like to unload all three of them together. So yeah, gonna work out a deal on that, because I've been want to buy some rations when I get my money for next month. Thanks for dropping in, John. Hope to see you another day. Of course, this will be the last review for April, because May starts on Friday. So I will be thinking about, do I want to open up one of the rations that I got from Art and Nina when they sent me a replacement for an MRE mug. They sent me a halal MRE, which is the same menu as the one that I had most recently reviewed. So I won't be opening that one up on camera. I think that'll be just for my personal enjoyment, or I may use it as travel food, I don't know. But I have the black and white bag DAF ration from Chile, and I have a brown bag corned beef hash MRE. So this will be the fourth one of those that I will have opened up. I will open that one up on camera. So I've eaten two of them. The other one that I had was compromised, so I could not eat that, but I'm going to give it one more try, and we'll see what the coffee is like. The last brown bag I saw someone open up on camera, it was a brown packet Taster's Choice, and it was perfect. Actually, it might have been a tan bag, an early tan bag that had that Taster's Choice in it. But the red packet ones, those were very prone to getting messed up. So I do want to find out what that one will be like, if I get that Taster's Choice, or if I get one of the tan packet coffees like the Type 1 or the Type 2. I wish the corned beef hash menu would be brought back. Maybe updated a little to have some of the newer side items, or newer versions of the original side items. That'd be awesome. I also have a French RCIR that I got from Matt when I got the Dutch ration. I get 2 reviews out of that one because there is not as many items in those as there are in the Dutch 24-hour ration. Yeah, I saw that. That was nuts. And if you remember the deep rich coffee in the white and brown packet, very few people liked that. If you mixed it to your normal coffee amount, like 6 ounces of water to 8, it tasted weak. So you would either 4 or less, like you're making an espresso, or you use 2 packets. And I've had some of those packets be messed up. Well, that's the end of that stuff. Ooh, that was good. Yeah, I've had the IRL or the RIL. I've had one of those. I have not had the RIE. Actually, I might have had one of those. I was supposed to do it in a collab with Aletha, but stuff happened in her life. So she just told me to just go ahead and do it at my own time when I want to do it. So because she had the same menu. Yeah, she has not put up anything on her channel for a while, but she's still around. We communicate on Facebook. Yeah, see, actually, let's see. I'll pull out that sleeve and it'll tell the... Let's see, it does not say the ounces, it says just 227 grams. So I'd have to calculate or do the conversion between 227 grams to ounces. Because usually I think 8 ounces is like 240 grams. Yeah. Why they cut this one back? I suppose you get a little more protein with the peanut butter, but that really doesn't amount to too much more. Yeah, that definitely could have been done better by making it the full 8-ounce serving. And with this applesauce being 4.5 ounces, I think they cut that one by ½ ounce, so that's cheating us. But this is a standard size Skittle pack. So they're just the standard 5 colors. Those are perfect. Yeah, that's definitely cheating on the main with only a 6.1 ounces. Maybe they didn't put the ounces on there to deceive the person who would be eating that entree into thinking that they're getting the full amount. If they're not paying attention to such things. But for being a lighter meal, maybe a good lunch, if a soldier is issued these, do they get to pick the menus they want, or are they just handed a bag and you just had to go with that? Now, Lee of a Cold War Pepper, when he was in the military, he ate the MCIs and maybe got into a couple of the brown bags. So he is more familiar with those. And MCI, a complete one, is something that I would love to get my paws on. I have opened up an accessory can. You know, there's a B2 can. It had crackers and a cocoa mix. Both of those are absolutely perfect. Those crackers need to come back. And then I had a bread can which would have been issued separately, but unfortunately that bread had gone rancid, but it was still very cool to look at. I'm sure back in the day that bread probably would have been a real treat. But even though I couldn't eat it, I still enjoyed checking it out. I saved that B2 unit can in case Smokey's buddy who makes repro rations would need it, but I haven't heard anything if he still wants it, but I still have it. But the bread can was messed up, so it had some of the bread stuck to it, maybe burnt to it, or somehow got compromised inside that can, so I tossed the can, plus it stunk. That was a downside of that particular one. Actually, I do like the original Skittles, and I like the berry one. The sour ones, Paul of Paul's Gear Review, he likes the sour Skittles in the green packet. But the red and the pink ones, I think there's a blue packet one. I'm not sure. I would have to go look next time I'm in a store. I have to go down the candy aisle and look at the different Skittles varieties, but I prefer the red packet and the pink. Occasionally in these older bags you might get the Twizzlers nibs. But if they get a little heat on them, they'll kind of fuse. But as long as they're not too messed up, I would still eat those. I really don't buy a whole lot of candy these days. Maybe once in a while I'll get a chocolate bar or an M&M's Minis tube, which I do save those tubes. They're good for storing little things like if you get a bunch of those compressed towels that are individually wrapped, or even if they're not, you could put those in those M&M's Minis tubes and then stick that in your pack. They're also good quarter tubes. They're slightly larger in diameter than your standard quarter tube that you would get either from hobby shops or online sites or even eBay for people who collect coins or want to put all of their loose coins in tubes. Like I have one of those standard quarter tubes, but then I also use the M&M's Minis tubes for that. I keep quarters as a backup in case I cannot use the laundry app, but yet the machines are still functional. So that's my backup plan as far as doing laundry, or if I had to go to a laundromat, then I could use those quarters for that. And I could also use them for a bus fare if for some reason I cannot use my bus pass, which I store on my phone. Yep. In January, actually at the end of December, I bought a bus pass for January of this year because I dropped off the Transit Rider Advisory Committee, so I no longer get free rides. I was asked if I could still use that ID card that I got to show that I was a member of that committee. I said, yeah, I still have it, but I'm not going to try to use it because I don't want to fool anybody into thinking that I'm still on it, even though I dropped off. I was actually supposed to drop off at the end of 24, but because of the reimagined DART with the big changes that we're having with our bus system here, I was held on for another year. Along with one other guy who was held on for an additional year, but I'll still go to the meetings just because I want to keep up with what's going on. I don't get all of the emails that I used to, so I go to the meetings just to kind of keep up with what's going on. Then I can inform others. Got Wilcox in here. Thanks for dropping in. Yep, these or any similar things would be good trail snacks, or as if a soldier had to hike somewhere. Yeah, he or she could put that in their pocket and eat a few of them every once in a while just to get an energy boost to keep moving to get to their target destination. Or just anybody doing a hike who needs a good pick-me-up could do that as well. Yep, these Skittles are absolutely perfect. Yep, that is true. Yeah. But for an occasional nip, that would be fine. But this is not the type of candy that I would store for long term. I only store those candies that do not have ingredients that could easily melt. You know, like the Altoids, the Tic Tacs, the white lifesavers, yeah, the Nerds, the Smarties, or in some places the same thing, they're labeled as Rockets. You know, the Sprees and the Sweet Tarts that are not the chewable kind. The harder ones, yeah, I store things like that for long term. I have those conversation hearts. Things like that are what I store for long term because they don't melt like these do. A little bit of the applesauce on, but I don't care. And when I was watching Smokey's stream, he got the green spearmint gum. He said he thought he saw somewhere that that green gum has been discontinued, so there's only the peppermint and the cinnamon. Sorry, make sure I get that in the camera. But I have several packets of the spearmint, the green ones. But he's either heard or saw something that that particular one was cut out for whatever reason. I don't know. You think they would want to have a little bit more variety in the gums that are put in these MREs, but who knows, maybe not. Yeah, I suppose that would work. I have never tried that. I have never bought just plain citric acid in whatever form it's sold in, whether it's a powder or what. I have no idea. But for any other ingredients, I wouldn't know anything about that. I just look at the back of this Splenda packet. It has dextrose and maltodextrin in it, as well as the sucralose. I don't know how well you'll be able to see that, but just found that interesting. I suppose one good thing about this is this stuff is made in the U.S. Yeah, like I said earlier, I don't bother with a whole lot of candy. I may buy some to contribute to something where it might be used. Last year, when we had an Eid party at the mosque, different people bought candy to put in the two piñatas. Yes, we actually broke a couple of piñatas. There was a store that sold them empty that we could fill ourselves. So I had contributed some candy for that. And then during the White Eagle Multicultural Powwow, we do what's known as the candy dance. And I like to get candy from Hillel Groceries. So be some different ones that kids may not be familiar with. But I have had them, so I'm familiar with them. But just to bring something different. Just to have a little bit more variety. And I will do that again for this year's powwow, which will be the second weekend in September instead of the third. We decided to move it so to avoid competing with a very large event in that area. Wow, I never knew that you could use citric acid in that way. Of course, I've never tried to do any sprouting. I don't know if I have the right condition here in my apartment to do that. Plus, I'm not sure where I could put the jar to keep it out of the way of my very active cat. She likes to investigate anything that is new, and she will investigate anything that is not new that has been moved around. Because that's the kind of cat she is. Yeah, I think she's gonna turn 9 sometime this year. I don't know when her birthday actually is. She was 2 when I got her, and I never asked the guy I got her from when she was born or when they first got her. But yeah, she would knock certain things down and investigate them if she could. And she's down here to my left. She likes to walk under the chair I'm sitting on. Oh, I missed the super chat. I'm going to see who did that. Let's see, I'm going to switch this to. I'm switching my chat to super chat. No, I guess not. I thought I saw maybe not. It just has what's called a goal up there. That is new for monetized channels that have the super chats and super stickers enabled, you can do a goal if you want, but I don't bother with that. I don't get enough super chats to warrant doing that. Yeah, Pepper for the Ages put paw prints there. That's cool. Yeah, Pumpkin is starting to slow down a little bit as she gets older, but she still gets up onto my dressers. She gets onto my bedroom windowsill because she wants to look out the window. But I can only crack my windows open a certain amount, otherwise she will be climbing the screen. And I don't want her doing that. I've already had to have my bedroom screen replaced once, and I don't want to have to do that again and have to pay for it next time. The one time it did get replaced, management said it is wind damage, and my cat just took advantage of it. So I did not have to pay for the new screen. So my slider here in the living room, I only open it. Maybe she could get her head through it, or maybe just her face, that's about it. When I had Mila, in the two places I lived where I had her, she was never a screen climber, even in her youth. I could open the windows fully and she would just put her paws on the windowsill and look out. She was not a screen climber. But Pumpkin is. She is a screen climber. Well, I did scoop the litter box today, so don't have to worry about that smell. And then, a couple weeks ago, I emptied out my litter bucket into the litter box because I needed to put some fresh litter in there. So next time I do that, I will open up one of my bags of the cat litter that I get on Amazon Subscribe and Save. So I got enough of those to last quite a while, but some of the cat litter I keep for my use in case I have to use my bucket toilet. And I have actually tested it on a camping trip with some friends, and then I had previously used some the clay-based litter. I had a small amount of that I had quote-unquote liberated before it would get tossed. It was still good. It was just not a full bag. But I tested it, and I found that this Arm & Hammer Naturals is not only lighter in weight, it's better at cutting the smell, and I found the clumping a whole lot better. So I transitioned Mila over to the naturals, and then I just continued to buy that, and when I got Pumpkin in, she took to it right away. I did not have to do any kind of a separate litter box for her, so that was easy. Wow, that was a score. I had seen those combos, Reese's and Oreos, but I have never tried them. I might have to get. I've seen the cookie form. I've not tried that, but I might just to satisfy my curiosity. I have never seen them that big, or maybe once, but like I said, I don't hit the candy aisles in stores too often unless I'm after something specific. Thanks for dropping in, Waffles. I'll be looking forward to your RCIR review whenever you get that up. And when I do those RCIRs and the British rations, depending what the French ones usually have muesli or something like that. I just tend to hold on to those instead of trying to make a third review meal out of it. But most of those French ones are pretty good. So I have eaten them, just usually don't do it on camera. Yeah, in October when those big bags of the minis that are no bigger than the rear rolls, yeah, people buy those up thinking they're going to get a lot of kids come to their door, but you don't see that in apartment buildings, especially if there are no kids that live in them. There are some apartments here that have kids in them, but usually maybe just one kid. Or there may be a grandparent or an aunt or uncle. And the grandkids or the niece or nephews come. But there are only a few kids in this building. I have no idea about the other building because I just don't go over there. I don't have a need to go over there, so I just don't bother. But in all of the other apartments that I've lived in, you just don't get that. So don't bother with it. My great niece is a freshman in high school, so because of all of her after school activities, she's pretty booked up for the day. She is a cheerleader and she does some music stuff. In addition to her regular classes, and if she keeps getting good grades, she might be on the honor roll when it's time for her to graduate. Pumpkin keeps walking past under my chair behind it. I would have to move my table over in order for you to see her when she does it again, but she might, who knows. Yeah, my school was so small. There are only 4 others in my graduating class. And in order to make the ceremony last even 1 hour, we padded it with music. And when they announced so they only had 5 names to call out. Yeah, we had to seriously pad it with music in order to make that ceremony last even 1 hour. But that's the way it was in that school. And then that school closed up probably a couple of decades ago. And then a couple of years ago, the property sold. I have no idea what is going to be done with that land that borders a Kiwanis Park on one side. I don't know what will become of the buildings if the older ones will be saved. Or what will happen to them, I have no idea. I just don't keep up with it. But I do communicate with other kids who went to that school, some older than me, some younger. Yeah, we're friends on Facebook. Some of them live here in Des Moines, some others live elsewhere, either different parts of Iowa or they have moved to other states. So we don't even bother with trying to hold any reunions. I did attend one. And the second time there was going to be one, I couldn't because I had a scheduling conflict. And I would not have been able to get a ride there anyway because it was outside of Des Moines. Yeah. I know a few of them who died several years ago. My best friend in high school, she had moved to Council Bluffs after she graduated from Simpson College here in Iowa, and she taught private music lessons in her apartment, plus she was a substitute music teacher in the Council Bluffs schools and the surrounding schools. And when she had to go out of Council Bluffs, she would have to make transportation arrangements to get there. You know, someone would come pick her up because she was totally blind. Yeah, she substituted in, I think, 3 different school districts in and around Council Bluffs. Then I had a few friends from a school in Nebraska that I had attended for only 4 years. But I had gotten to know some of them and had seen one of them after that, because she would come to Council Bluffs and visit my friend who lived there. She lived in Omaha. But I have no other, I'm not able to connect with any of these other ones because I just never bothered to try to look them up to find out if they're still alive or not. But that was in the early 70s that I went to school in Nebraska. Yeah, I flip-flopped between Nebraska and Iowa in my younger days. And then in the summer or fall of 76, I came back to Iowa, and I had been here ever since. Then after graduating high school, I went down to Arkansas for a few years. But after I finished up down there, I missed Iowa, so I came back. My parents had gotten work in Arkansas a month and a half before my graduation, but I stayed up here. My brother and my sister next to me in age went down there. She had graduated from high school the year before I did, in 83. I graduated in spring of 84. But my brother still had several years of school left, so there was a bit of an adjustment to him for the school down there because the requirements didn't quite mesh. But he made it through that. Yeah, he was 4 years younger than me. But I saw no sense in going down there for just 1.5 months and maybe not having the requirements jive, and I would have to stay in school beyond the spring of 84 just to get caught up with the Arkansas requirements. There was just no sense in doing that, so I stayed up here. My 2 older sisters were up here, so I just stayed with them for that time. And of course, it was while I was down in Arkansas that I got a chance to spend that month in Mexico. I would definitely not go back there now, especially since one of my favorite places down there Yeah, someone got killed either on or next to one of the pyramids outside of Mexico City. So they had to get everybody, literally every single tourist or pyramid walker away from both of the pyramids while they did the investigation and process, collected evidence for processing. Yeah, there are people who live near the pyramids who literally walk up and down them for exercise. We ran into those when we were going up to the top of the bigger pyramid, the Pyramid of the Sun. Yeah, I would definitely not go back down to Mexico as much as I would love to. I'm just not going to do that. I'd rather go to Spain, where I can still speak the language. Or I would love to go to Poland. But foreign travel is just not going to happen right now. I can't afford it. I don't have a passport. So I just have to read about other people's travels when they take trips. And get to see cool stuff. But there are plenty of cool things here in Iowa that I have yet to see. But I can't go there by myself. Someone would have to take me there. I would love to go to the Les Hills. I would like to visit what are known as the effigy mounds. There are state and county parks that I would love to check out, to camp there. Or if not camp, even if I just get to fish there. Because I will not fish the river, at least around here in the downtown part of Des Moines. No, I will not fish the river in this area. I'd rather go way upstream, or at least a completely different river or lake. I used to see people fishing off of the river bridges years ago, but I think the city has cracked down on that and made it illegal to fish off the downtown bridges. And sometimes the water in the river has been so low that it would just make fishing almost impossible. Last summer, at certain times the river got so low that it would be hard for any hydroelectric dam to produce power, because there was just not enough water volume or water flow to keep those turbines going. And for people wanting to take their boats out on the river, sometimes even a flat bottom boat like a John boat or a kayak might be your only option. But then getting your boat in and out of the water would be more of a challenge with the water being so low that you'd run out of boat ramp before you hit the water. But we've had some decent rain so far. We didn't have a whole lot of snow all through winter. We had some pretty good dumps of snow, but not a huge number of winter storms, and sometimes all you would get was flurries. It was supposed to have rain, according to my weather apps, about in the 7 o'clock hour, but I have not heard any yet. But it may not be coming down in this part of the city. It just may be kind of spotty, if that. But through the night we might get some more, and then tomorrow we might get some rain. We'll just have to see what happens, I guess. When we did get rain, we definitely needed it, because when I crossed the river riding the bus, I could see when the water was low, but it has gone back up to a higher level. But we've had a few dry days. We had a good day yesterday, good weather for planting flowers in front of the mosque, so we have a little bit of color. There is a planting bed right in front of the building that faces the street. The actual entrance faces the parking lot, but there's a planting bed that goes on the side of the building that faces the street. And then there is another one that runs along the fence on 3 sides. And then last year we added some pavers underneath the picnic tables that we have out there. So when people eat out there, it's a lot easier to clean up, and if the ground has been wet, people aren't getting their shoes muddy from, like where the grass has been worn down from people walking around there. So we put those pavers in. Plus it's not so bumpy there as far as being on very uneven ground. There's still a bit of a slope, but that allows any water runoff to go under the grass. Yep, so I took the only 2 garden tools I have, which is a mini spade and one of those ones that has, it looks like a mini hoe, and then the other side of that, opposite that, is a claw, so for digging up weeds or digging through old roots or just breaking up the soil. So I do use those when I'm prepping my pots for planting, and I will be doing that pretty soon. We still have some nights in the 40s, but I have no idea how to measure soil temperature I don't get direct sun, so I don't have that as a source of heat. But I may go ahead and go through my seeds and decide what I'm going to plant. I did leave a few herbs in their pots. I want to see if they will come back. That is an experiment. I may change up what pots I put certain seeds in. I direct sow all of my seeds. I don't try to start because I just don't have a place where I can put them that will be inaccessible to my cat but yet be accessible to me. Yeah, like I said, Tim, it was spotty. My blind is closed, so it's hard to see without going up to it and poking my head through the blind slats to see if anything is wet here. But I found an unopened digital rain gauge on eBay, but I have to figure out how I can mount that so it can actually collect water. It would have to be on the outside of my deck rail. I don't want to put it down onto, say, the rocks that are below my bedroom window because, there is an apartment below me, and I don't want anyone stealing it. So I'll have to figure out how I can mount that to the outside of my deck rail. Plus it has a remote device so I can see how much rain it collects without having to actually go outside and try to look at it. So I have a sensor out there that measures temperature and humidity outside. I got that attached to a plant shelf, and I can look at my display that I have hanging on a wall out of Pumpkin's reach. Plus it measures the temperature and the humidity inside. And this remote display that I got for the rain gauge does the same thing. It measures temperature, but I gotta figure out how to mount the collection container. I bought a pack of lithium batteries for it because according to the instructions, lithium is preferred. So I will be figuring that out in the near future. I could try to use bungees to strap it to the deck rail. But yeah, I'll figure out something for that because I would like to know how much rain falls here. I'm using my delicious mug tonight. Yeah, I'll rotate between the channel mugs that I have. Maybe I'll random pick. Oh yeah, 50. Yeah, 50s. It's funny, when I was down in Arkansas, it'd be 50 degrees, and I would be walking around without a coat on, and everybody else would be wearing their winter coats. And they would look at me funny like I'm crazy, and I would be thinking they're crazy. Because it just doesn't get as cold down there as often as it does up here. But ice storms are more of a problem than huge snow dumping blizzards. Yeah, they get snow down there, but according to my brother, when he was attending a school down there in the town of Jesseville, half-inch of snow, shut it down. And to us, that just seemed absurd to do that. We wouldn't shut schools down for a half-inch of snow up here. But in the South, they just don't have all the equipment and resources to handle ice and snow like we do. But maybe after the Texas deep freeze, some state and local governments might be rethinking that. At least we can hope. Because with the way things are going on this planet, things could get a lot stranger. And I just gradually work on trying to be better prepared for such things. I would like to get a power station that's higher capacity than my Opus 600. But they're a little bit too expensive, even with some of them on sale by their on their manufacturer's website, or when they're running a sale on Amazon. The prices for the size of power station that I would want is a bit much for me. Yeah, I got some gift money at the end of Ramadan, but I'm holding on to that cash because I need to rebuild my emergency fund after having to burn through it. After my apartment got flooded, I needed a hotel room for a couple of nights. And of course, a few months after that, my fridge crapped out and I had to get a replacement, and I lost a bunch of food. So I had to spend extra money to replace that. But yeah, I need to rebuild my emergency fund, so any gift money that I get will go for that. I don't get a whole lot in a year. But what I do get goes for that. Of course, my YouTube revenue isn't a whole lot. I may get 2 deposits from Google in a year, because I don't have a huge number of views. I don't have a huge number of subscribers. But what I do get goes back towards the channel in one way or another. I don't have any affiliates or sponsorships. But I don't constantly beg for donations. I just leave all the options there for anyone who may choose to do it, and if they don't, I'm okay with that. I just set them up. They're in the channel description, and if anyone reads that, they can see it. I don't even beg for channel memberships, but if someone wants to do it, that's fine. I am only a member of 4 channels, and if one cancels their membership, I may not replace it with another. I don't know, but I just limit it to that. And that's the lowest level that is available, and I just leave it at that. Yeah, I don't know if I could live in a desert. My remaining living aunt, who had moved to Arizona after she had retired and sold the land. No one else in the family wanted it, so she just sold it and bought a house in Arizona. But last year, she sold that and came back to Iowa. She's living in a different town that she had grown up in. She wants to be closer to the grandkids. So that's why she decided to come back to Iowa. Plus, it will be easier on those who would be responsible for settling her affairs after she passes. Her daughter and her son would be the ones to handle that. but I get to see the pictures of those kids growing up. And I got other relatives, other cousins. Getting to see their kids grow up, and one of them, one family's into racing, so they have a race car that they go on local racing circuits around the area, county fairgrounds, and any racetracks that they are allowed to race on. They will go do that. So I see their Facebook posts and get to find out how well they're doing. I'm not much into auto racing myself, but because a cousin is involved in it, I check out their posts, see how they're doing. And I'll comment on them usually. Just something different I didn't know anyone in my family would be actively into. Finished off that tropical punch. You can see the red residue in my drinking jar. It washes out. It's not like it's permanent. That's why I like drinking out of a glass one, because I can wash that residue out. That's another thing I don't like about the red drink powders that come in U.S. rations. They leave that residue behind. I like the tropical drink mixes from other countries better. The Orifo Exotic that I drank last Sunday, I really enjoyed that. But the British one that comes out of their ORPs, I think that one's even better. I would take an Orifo over that any day. And I'm glad that Dutch Ration had 2 grapefruit drink mixes, because I got to enjoy one live on camera, and I got another one I can have another day. My backup plan, if I didn't have the Bill's Brew coffee in this one, I pulled out this Nescafe 3-in-1 that I bought from Hillel Groceries. And it's very small, but as you can see, it has Arabic writing on it. This is produced in Turkey. I think so. I'm going to check again. think I had that upside down, but oh well. Now these individual packets don't have the country of origin on here, but I got rid of the box and I put them in another container that has a lid on it. A small metal coffee can is what I have them in. But those two packets will go back in there. But that 301 coffee is not bad. It's almost up there with the G7. Yeah, I got that big bag of the packets on Amazon. So I have enough of those for a little while. But I would like to try some other brands. Just to have a little variety. And speaking of variety, I will be thinking about what I'm going to pull out for next Sunday, which will be May 3rd. Like I said, I could either pull out my Chilean DAF ration that has my favorite entree out of that, of those that I've tried, the salmon paella. And I have that brown bag corned beef hash. I could pull that one out. I could get into that RCIR that I have. I have a couple of 2024 MREs that I'm sitting on left out of that case that I got from Waffles. I'm still holding on to that goulash MRE because I'm hoping to get a hold of a Polish ration with the goulash as its main entree. Or if any other country has goulash as a main entree, I would like to do a comparison between that and the US MRE goulash. So far, I have had the Polish one before. I like it, but I've never done the US and Polish ones back to back. And that's what I'm waiting to do. But last time I tried, I ended up getting bigos, which is a hunter stew. And the thing that said goulash, it had the said English goulash, but it was a can of like luncheon loaf, like beef spam or something like that. I thought, no, that is definitely not goulash. That's just a canned meat. There's nothing else in there. But trying to find a ration with real goulash in it, that's easier said than done. I also want to get a Canadian cornbread because I want to do a comparison between that and the American MRE cornbread. So that's why I've been sitting on that one. So either I would have to get some IMPs and hope that they have the cornbread in them, or someone would have to send me one. I don't know. But I do want to get the MRE cornbread. But who knows? Maybe that'll happen one of these months. But I will keep going at these Sunday night dinners until either something comes up on a Sunday that I have to be at that would take precedence over a stream, or my summer trip to Lake Icaria. Obviously do not do any streaming out there because getting any kind of signal is spotty at best. Yeah, my hotspot really doesn't help much down there. So when I take a picture and I try to upload it from there, it could take several hours just to upload one picture. And if I shoot a short video from there, that could take the better part of a day. There are no towers, no cell towers anywhere near that county park where Lake Icaria is. It can even be hard to send a text message out there, let alone trying to make a phone call. But that can be a good thing, I guess. Unless you absolutely need to communicate someone who may have left the camp in order to go into town to either pick up groceries or to get more firewood. Because we only start with a little bit from what my sisters collect in their yards. You know, when the tree branches fall or any pruning, they save the branches from that and just strip the leaves off. But then after we get settled into the cabins, then someone may go back into town and buy a few bundles of firewood, because we cook some of our meals over the fire instead of just using the camp stove and the Blackstone griddle. And my second oldest sister bought a Blackstone a few years ago because the knockoff that she had before just completely crapped out. But she also owns a Coleman stove. I don't know how old it is, but she's got those two smaller, I think they're like, is that 5 pound propane tanks, or they're 10. I'm not sure what they are, but they're smaller than the standard 20 pounders that you might find in those exchange cages or places that sell propane tanks. She hooks one of them up to the Blackstone griddle, the other one up to the camp stove, and then we run the whole week off of those. And depending on how much we use them, she could still have some propane left in either or both of those tanks, because she tops them off before the trip. And because she has long enough hoses, the tanks can go underneath the tables that they're put on. That's how we do it, and I don't know if we are reserved for next year. I'll find that out later. I think I might be hearing a tiny bit or just light rain. I got a little fan running. Just a little USB fan plugged into my old computer tower that doesn't fully boot up. So I just basically use it as an overgrown power bank. But it doesn't give full power like it would if it was completely on. And if something happened to it, I don't know if got a virus or something caused it to just not boot up. I can't do anything to it, so it's just a glorified power bank. eventually I would like to replace it with a power station that has what's called uh, uninterrupted power supply or emergency power supply, where I plug it into a wall outlet, plug stuff into it, power goes through it to whatever is plugged in, just like if there's nothing in between your device and the wall outlet. But if the power goes out, then anything plugged into it would just keep on running. And none of my little power stations that I have can do that. But I would eventually like to get something like that that does. Of course, I would love to have an actual functioning desktop computer, because using a laptop is extremely difficult for me. Because I can't separate the screen from the keyboard. I can't have the keyboard want it where I want it, that's comfortable. If I did that, then I couldn't see the screen. And if I try to put the screen where it's easy for me to use, then it's uncomfortable to type on. But with so many people going to laptops, I think desktop computers are harder to find, and they're still pretty expensive. I mean, the last one that I got was a factory refurb, so that could have been part of the problem. So I don't even try to connect my tablet to my printer. Plus I don't know if I can still buy the correct ink cartridges for it, so I just haven't bothered. But that's just the way it goes. I haven't seen anything new come up into the chat, so I don't know if the chat is frozen or if people are just not commenting. I hope it's still working for everybody, because I haven't seen anything come up past what our fishy friend put in after Tim's last comment. Yeah, I used a different power bank than the one I'm using tonight. I think I figured out what that one does. If your device reaches 100%, the power bank shuts off, and if you're not paying attention to it, and then your device, like my phone last week, it just completely ran down, and that's why it got cut off so abruptly when it did. And then I had to wait for it to charge to at least, I think when it at least got up to 6% charge, and I was able to get back into YouTube and just completely kill it. So that YouTube could process it. But I plugged into a different power bank that doesn't do that. So it still continues to feed juice to my phone. I could use one of my mini power stations to do it, but I prefer to save those for emergency use. Maybe occasionally every few months I might just burn the juice in it and then recharge it. I'll alternate which one I do that to. I think I'm going to grab this one, that backup. The weather app on this one takes a little bit longer to refresh, and then when it pops up an ad, it takes a long time for the ad to get to the point where you could kill it. Oh, it is cloudy, according to the weather up 69 degrees Fahrenheit. But we could get a storm in the next hour. And maybe after midnight could get some. This one does not show the percentage chance of rain. It just shows that there's a possibility. I got it set on the 24-hour just because I like that. Put that back over there. But looking outside, I would have to go up to my slider and poke my head through the slats to see what it's really like. But if we got anything here, maybe nothing more than what Tim got was a few sprinkles, and that's it. It can be kind of fickle that way. But I've finished off my coffee. And this peanut butter and jelly will come back another day. And all the other things that I do not use get put into my stash. So I'm got a growing collection of these things. But when the time comes and I have to dig into my stash, I have them. But I think I'm going to go ahead and call this one good for tonight. And this was 2022 pack menu 3, packed by Sapaco. This one did not have the inner bag like they started doing later before the switch over to the newer package style, where they got away from this and they went to the bag style that is like what Ameriqual started using. When they were double bagging their MREs, then Sapaco started doing it. Warnick never did. And Warnick never date codes their stuff, which they should. In fact, this one's date coded 2235, so the 235th day of 2022 was when this particular one was packed. Well, I will decide next Sunday what I'm going to bring out. So until then, thanks for watching and catch you on the flip side.